Station, and today we are here in the parking lot of Hughes, and Stobie, and we're giving thanks to the many people who came out and helped to ensure that our buildings did not burn down and there was no damage, no loss of life. Over to Mr. Hughes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Um, First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody for attending this afternoon. Deeply appreciated. Our apologies for the late start. Um, Today is really an opportunity for all of us at Hughes Fields and Stobie to say thank you. But before we start, I think last week we were spared because of the good deeds of our ancestors. And they came out and they said, not today, my friend, not today. So I just want to have a moment's silence for everybody who contributed. And also a moment's silence for those in the past who've been here before. Clarence Hughes, Richard Fields, we have Bryn Holland, all the people that contributed to make HFS what it is. So in honor of them and to say thank you to them, a moment's silence. Thank you. A week ago, maybe just about a couple of hours before this, raging across in the northeastern corner from where we are was a horrendous fire that destroyed perhaps the most important, certainly at least the second most important police station in the country. And along with it went a lot of records. I got the message very, very early, maybe about 11:45. Very good lady standing behind me, Collyanne, called me and said, Mr. Hughes, there's a fire in Brickdown. I said, should I come? She said, I've seen smoke. I said, Collyanne, should I come? And of course, by the time I got here, which couldn't have been more than 20 minutes later, the entire breakdown was engulfed. And the problem was that it had moved to the southern side of the breakdown police station. And the buildings that are in Hatfield Street on the southern side were threatened. Our concern was at the time that once the buildings in Hatfield Street caught, or the western wing caught, then it was definite that we were going to be gone. While we're in the panic, in the midst of the panic, trying to make sure that we have enough resources at least to be able to extinguish any potential fires, the coconut tree right across, well, you can't see it now because we cut it down. The coconut tree literally across there, the eastern side of this property, caught a fire. Some of the embers landed in the coconut tree caught a fire. The coconut tree couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 feet away from the building. And needless to say, these buildings are very old wood, pine in excellent shape, but they are fantastic for fires. So at that stage, I had a little hand axe, tried to start cutting the tree down, but like I said, you never get it down that way. And she was able to contact somebody in the community. He's actually sitting here, and I do want to acknowledge him. And he turned up with a chainsaw in less than 10 minutes, cut that tree down, then cut the tree up, and we put the tree out. I'd like to acknowledge this gentleman here, is it Hills or Hiles? Mr. Hills, please stand, Mr. Hills. Honest to God, if he didn't cut that tree down, today I would have been inviting you to help me clear out these yards. So Andrew and I would have been, you would have had a cookout, but it would have cookout to clear out, as opposed to where we are today. We really are. All right, thank you so much, sir. So he cut the tree down, and then after that, what happened was the embers continued to fly out of the breakdown fire, and the northern side of the building caught. Again, old wood caught, and everybody from the community came out. We had a bucket brigade. Nico, one of the leaders in the community who has the car wash down on Durban Street, came out. He was out there. Ulrich, I don't see him here yet, went out on the roof, and they started to keep, not only extinguish the fire, but they started to keep the eastern and northern walls wet, just so that whenever the embers hit the building, they would be extinguished. When we thought we had Fitzgerald House saved, in Hatfield Chambers, in the library, the most important and historic part of the building, probably the most expensive part of the building, and in terms of historic records, There are ordinances and records that go back to 150 years in there. That there's a plant pot in the window that caught. That plant pot then caused the entire frame to alight. Malika was downstairs, saw the smoke. Again, everybody from the community came up, formed the brigade, and went upstairs. There were so many touching aspects to the efforts to save these buildings, and I just want to share one of them. And one of them is this. There are two people in the audience who I've known for years because I represented them when they were the subjects of the most unjust charge this country could ever have. And in the course of trying to extinguish the fire, I saw Carol and Bruce Monroe. You may remember that name because they were charged with treason. And they left their homes all the way at the back of Southrum Gulf when they heard about it on social media, came down here and were an integral part of rescuing this building. I would like to say on behalf of Andrew Pollard, myself, Stephen Roberts, we are deeply, deeply appreciative and we say thank you to you. And they brought their son, just to give you how history is interesting. When Carol and Bruce had their problems, I think the son could have been much higher than this. And you can imagine how difficult it was for them to be in those circumstances. And I just want to say thank you to them. So can you please put your hands together for Carol and Bruce. So today, as I said, it really is an opportunity for us to say thank you. And I just want to indicate and demonstrate, demonstrate how important this community is, but more importantly, how attuned this community is to what is going on in the community. There's a fire hydrant in front of this building, which everybody in Hughes and Stouffville knew was working 3 months ago because they came to turn it on, and it was working. As soon as I arrived here, I said to the officer, because there was no fire officer immediately available, I said to the police officer in Keiki, inspector or assistant superintendent, sir, this fire hydrant is working. Could you please tell the firemen, can you come and turn it on? Because by that time there were no fire hydrant and no fire engines in Hatfield Street at all. All of them were either in Brickdam or they were in Smythe Street. There were none here. And the logical place for us seemed that they should turn this on and at least try to save the businesses in Hatfield Street, which should not be at cost. So the officer said, sure. I walked over to the firemen with the officer. The firemen came back and said, yes, okay, we'll check it. They said, let us go away and check. We came back in 5 minutes and they said, there's a blue paint mark on that hydrant, which means that the hydrant is not working. All the citizens of this community who were standing out there said, no, it is working. We know it is working. The fire service then said, we don't have the key to open up the fire hydrant. That in itself was shocking that they would not have the key to open their own fire hydrant. The people said, no problem. And community members went and got the key. And when they came back and attempted to open the fire hydrant, the police threatened to lock them up because they said it was not working and how dare they interfere with the fire hydrant. Mercifully, I know my people and I know that they don't accept anything from authority that is unjust. And I thank them. And they said, we don't care. We can take the lock up. You lock me up. And it was a woman who brought the equipment. They put the key in and they turned on the fire hydrant. And guess what? Water was flowing and flowing and flowing, more water than the empty fire hydrants that they had. And the ones that had water were losing the water through the hoses that already had holes.
But I think it's a bluff because we would have locked them up.
That's why I like Andrew. That's why he said it's a bluff because they haven't here to block them up. Clearly, Andrew was advising Mr. Green who must have pushed the foam through But the water kept flowing and flowing, and you would have thought that at that stage they were sufficiently embarrassed they would hook it up. They said, no, we can't hook it up, we got to go get a water pump. This water is flowing, it's not dripping, it is flowing, it is gushing out, and they still need a water pump to be able to hook it up to put it on. Needless to say, they brought a water pump, it was not working. But by that time, all the good people in working with us. Every single citizen in this community had already extinguished all the flames, well, the fire that had started both in Fitzgerald House and in Hatfield Chambers. I know as my father come back, I know as my grandfather, my mother, all of them spirits came back and said, not today, not this property. And so those people saved this building, and I can never, on behalf of Hughes, Fees and Stovey, the Hughes family, the Paulette family, all the families of everybody, Mr. Fields, everybody that came out to save the heritage. These buildings have a lot of history. For those who don't know, this building here was first occupied by a man called Mr. Dummett, way back at the turn of the last century. He acquired it. And the first paved road in Guyana was Brickdown. The second was Hatfield Street. And in those days, in our history, only a certain type and class of person lived in Hatfield Street, in Brickdown. And Mr. Dummett was the first person of African descent to actually own a property here. So this property here has a lot of history. And what he did was that when his daughter, Ella Barrow, was getting married, she got married to Dr. Barrow, he took this side of the property and constructed Fitzgerald House and gave it to his daughter and Dr. Barrow, and he had a clinic downstairs. And that's how that property got established. They produced several outstanding children. But one of them was Dr. Barrow. Oren Barrow. Outstanding, outstanding surgeon, outstanding doctor, outstanding academic. He was at the University of the West Indies in Mona. I think at one stage he became head of the medical faculty. And because of this brilliance, he was the doctor to Forbes Burnham for most of his life until Mr. Burnham passed. He was not there when Mr. Burnham passed, perhaps that's why he did pass. But there's a lot of history here, and we can't afford to allow that history to go. But enough of me in that rant. Today really is to celebrate. This gentleman walking in front here, y'all gotta clap for this guy. Let me tell you what. Ulrich is the one in the middle when the fire caught. He come up to me and whispered to me, this is after the police threatened to lock up the people for opening the hydrant. And he come and he whispered to me, he said, it's you, we could start this out, you know. I said, boss, do what you gotta do. And I know within 5 minutes, he left, and when he came back, that hydrant was working. So Ulrich, respect the man who did this. Thank you. So today, I'm going to ask Mr. Pollard, who is the senior partner here, to start. We are going to recognize the people who contributed to saving this property. And needless to say, let me just give you a little bit of history on Andrew. Andrew had a choice to be in Hughes Fees and Stovey, even though he named Hughes. Andrew's father, Bryn Pollard, and my father, Clarence Hughes, were friends before they left Guyana in the 1950s. They went to study in England. When you had to get in a boat to get to England, they had no plane. And they had a friendship that was bonded then, that lasted until my father died, and of course, Uncle Brent took it until he died. So long before Andrew knew what he was going to do in his life when he was in QC, his place here was cemented, and he came back long before I did. So Andrew is now the senior partner in the firm, and I will ask Andrew. Actually, let me ask Andrew to say a few words, and then we do the certificates. Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, everyone. I must say that it really, really, really gives me great joy and satisfaction to be here today and speaking to you, especially against the backdrop of Hatfield Chambers and Fitzgerald House. I really, really, really am very, very, very relieved because 1 week ago, 1 week and a few hours ago, the outlook did not look so bright. But as Nigel has reminded us, we were not alone. And those who had gone before have not gone so far that they don't turn back occasionally. They turn back and put their hands down, and as a result, the world went on as we know it. Thank you to them, and thank you to all of the people who have worked in Rust. It is with particular satisfaction too that I see you all here, because it is at times like last Saturday that your faith in human nature, humankind, is reaffirmed. When persons who have no personal agenda who have no personal gain, put their lives aside, their physical well-being aside, cast their own burdens and problems aside, and pick up yours to help you. Then is when, or one of the times, as you can say, there is a God. There is a God, and we are all made in His image. I thank you, people of Working Rust, for being there. You contributed manfully and womanfully, and you shouldered the burden. You took up the charge, and you carried us through to the end. Thank you. We may not all be rich. We may not have everything we want. But one thing I will tell you, people of Working Rust, and you can tell anybody who doubts it. Andrew Pollard told you this afternoon. Y'all might not be rich. We might be rich, but we 100%, 100% genuine. So anybody asks you, you tell them we are rich, but we 100.
Woo.
Thank you very much.
Woo.
We'll now turn to the appreciation.
Okay, just before we do that, another salt of the earth citizen of Working Rust came through the gate. This lady manned the gate at the back here, make sure that undesirable elements didn't get in. There were none. And people like to say Working Rust got a bad reputation. The most disciplined firefighters last Saturday were the people from Working Rust. More disciplined in the firefighting service. And I want to recognize this elder. She's the first recipient. But before she comes up, I want to recognize Barbara Hinder. Barbara is an elder from Cross Street. She came out, she took charge at the back, and she said, "Be saving this." So Barbara, please come forward. You are our first recipient. On behalf of Hughes, Fields, and Stovey, all its members, all its team members, and all those that went before, we thank you, Ms. Pinder, for having saved all of these properties and saved the jobs of all the people who depend on these properties for their daily bread. We thank you.
Here, here.
The next person who we're going to invite up is the person who actually this afternoon I heard the gentleman who owns this car say that she's an air chief. And that's because when I got down here, she was in charge. She took over. She got the chainsaw man to get here. She ensured we got in the property. She ensured that the tree was cut down. And on Sunday morning when I got here at 8:30, before I got here, I got a message from her that the Minister of Home Affairs was inspecting the fire hydrant in front. I actually got here and saw him inspecting the fire hydrant in front, the same one that was not supposed to be working, but that was working. So I want to thank the lady who organized that. And on Sunday, she came and she made sure that the tree that fell down was cut up and that the yard was clean and that this car park was operational for Monday. So would you please put your hands together as I welcome the new fire chief, Malika Bofter. And who says firefighting never looks so good? I would say anyway. The next recipient, like I said, if that tree did not come down, if it was not felled, trust me, that building would have gone, this one would have gone because of the age. One over the street may well have gone. There's a gentleman 2 doors down who I spoke to this afternoon, who said that the embers had actually caught his building. That's 2 doors down in Cross Street, and it was alight. So, Mr. Hales, We owe you. We thank you for felling that tree last week. Haynes, sorry. Well, I ask you to forgive me standing here, but Mr. Haynes, please come because anytime, even though we getting no coconut water, we thank you for cutting that tree down. You got a few more left to cut down. Now, you know, every institution has a little powerhouse. And unlike GPL, that powerhouse is on 24/7. Anytime you want anything done, you're looking for anything, you're concerned about security, best intelligence on the street. If I ever want to know what's going on in the neighborhood or whether something occurred in the neighborhood, this lady is better than the Central Intelligence Agency. And unlike the Central Intelligence Agency, her information always spot on. So we don't have to leave Afghanistan with a plane with people hanging on to the wings. She's going to make sure that we don't even have to leave at all. Please put your hands together for Avril Crowther.
Yes.
Thank you.
Whatever.
I started to tell you a little bit about the history of the relationship between me and this family. But me and this lady particularly, I remember the first day I saw her, her strength was extraordinary, and she was perhaps in the most difficult circumstances any woman in the history of this country can find themselves. She was accused of treason. Some of you probably weren't even born then. And Carol and I, and her husband, and the family formed a bond from then. I said to her, Carol, I will always be here. We're going to get you out of it. When the prospects looked as if they were poor to non-existent. And God is good, and God is great all the time. Carol and her husband, Bruce, and another good friend of ours, Len Wharton, came out of that allegation at the magistrate's court, and we've formed a bond since then. I will say this, Carol checks in with me anytime anything looks as if it's about to happen, that's proximate to me. And she would say, Nige, I just check in to make sure you're all right, you know, I'm right here. And when I turned around last week and I saw her and I jumped, and I said, Carol? She said, yeah, you know, we would never leave you alone. And she came and with her husband and her son from all the way at the back of South after having seen it on social media. Carol Monroe, please come forward. The next recipient is also close to her, and I can only aspire to be the husband he is. He is always quiet. I can't make that.
No, no,
Obedient, I definitely cannot make that.
no.
Supportive, I might get there a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Bruce is unbelievable. When Carl is outside warring, Bruce is like the soldier. So even if you're going to war back with Carl, you see Bruce, you say, okay, boss, the line. Would you please put your hands together for Bruce Monroe?
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
So I mentioned before that we have a community savior. But he's one of those saviors that he don't want to be celebrated. He can come and do it, gotta get done. Or you can even come. It will get done and you say thank you afterwards. And you might see him and you raise your hand and say thank you. Well, and acknowledging his wife first, because she is a true warrior. She was ready to take on the fire service and beat him up last week. And I said, no, Siobhan, is that right? We good. We can save the building and we save the building. Please put your hands together for Siobhan the Quick. I've known Siobhan for years. Siobhan knew my father. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. So the entire community, as you know, is our neighborhood. And our closest neighbor to the south joined the fight, not because it was her property, but because she wanted to save this and because of our good relationship with her. And she has been there. She has, during the week, I see her and I say, "How are you going?" And we say hi and we sit down and have a little gap every now and then. Please put your hands together for Miss Marilyn Cato. Thank you. So you might have heard of the Bucket Brigade, which outshunned all the brand new fire tenders that they paid $15 to $20 million for. And since the president is always talking about the entrepreneurial spirit, I would like him to make a donation to the people of Cross Street. We will form our bucket brigade. It will get to the fire before the fire hydrant and the fire tenders that are just down the road. We will have more buckets than they have hoses. We will have more water than they have tanks, because we know that the people themselves always have more resources, more capacity, and are more dedicated to saving those members of the community than those that have millions and the best equipment. And the Israelis will tell you, when they had no country in 1945 at the end of the war, it was purely the spirit of determination, because they felt they were God's chosen people and that they were going to get a homeland, and today they have the strongest nation in the Middle East. So I will say to the Bucket Brigade, you have your fire chief over there, and we will make this work. So head of the Bucket Brigade, who says this, who is a part of the youth season too, so we see, who has worked with us for a long time, and who has been here before a lot of us have been here. I want to put your hands together for Stacy Marks. Just let me tell you how efficient the Bucket Brigade is. When I came back into the building at 8 o'clock in the night, every single floor in every building had about 8 buckets of water waiting just in case. Just in case. Mr. Green threw another piece of lighted foam through another window and catch. Just in case. I kid you not. Each floor, they left 8 full buckets of water just in case. And one of them said, "You just leave the back door open in case we got to go in." So Stacy has a daughter who is around here almost 24/7. Please put your hands together for Shania Burnett. Who is critical. And the other part of the trio of the triumvirate of the Bucket Brigade is the other daughter. She's a live wire. She's here every day. She's here every day. She's here in the yard. She's here in the building. And one of our approaches is that we embrace everybody, because this is a project in which we give everybody an opportunity. So the little master from the Bucket Brigade, Shavina. I will disclose her age, but she was up and down and in between, helping toe to toe with the best of us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So we have in the community some rather flamboyant members of the Bucket Brigade who you didn't even think could carry a bucket, because when you see them, they really should be in the catwalk. You know, they have lovely colors and they're attractive and they're moving and all kinds of stories. So we have one of, well, actually, if Cross Street ever went to Paris, I know for sure we making a rep. We gonna represent. We gonna represent. And so Miss Guyana Bucket Brigade, Susanna Richardson. Will you please? You see what I mean? The shoes matching,
Yes,
dress matching,
the mask
the mask
matcher.
matching, and the hair on fire. Susanna, thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you think that that model was fine, that family produced a lot of models. So the other one is the other version of this one. This one is the killer that's go down the road and she's got a little fancy sports car. So please put your the other one is well, I don't say Mark II, she's the Mark up. Please put your hands together for Wanda and for the gentleman. The thousands of many are just accepting. Is Nico here yet? Telling you a little bit about the story of the Monroes who came all the way from back south. Well, when I met them, as I said, they had a little son. Couldn't have been higher than that. And he was here in the fire. I looked at him because he had on a mask, and I looked back and I looked back again. And because of all the features, I said, "This got to be Carl." And he was trying, but he gets a call from the past and father. Nick Pass, another long time ago. And little fancy little man with the fancy hairstyle. So I said, "Wow, we got designers today." So will you please put your hands together for Emmanuel Monroe, who was very, very critical for us. Okay, we're just going to list two people that I know Nico is coming. I saw him just now, and he said he's coming back. So in Hughes Fuse and Story, there is a. It's difficult. Is he here? Good. I'll come to this gentleman just now, Nico. But in Fuse and Story, the powerhouses, the people who manage the business here, the people who advise externally, the consultants, are predominantly female. As a matter of fact, 60% of youth season story is female and growing. I like feeling like a rare species. I like to get to the 90%, but anyway. And so, critical to our operations here, whether it's security, whether it's HSSE, whether it is getting the petrol or the diesel for the generators to make sure that we're operational, whatever it is, once we start on time and close at the time we say we are closing, most of those operations are down to this one person. And last week, she was the one that alerted me. And when I asked her, should I come down? She says, yes, after saying, I've seen smoke, and then said yes. And she is an invaluable part of HFS team. We met, must have been less than a year ago. I think she started earlier this year, but she is absolutely fantastic. Please put your hands together for Kalyan and herself. So a little bit of history on this gentleman. Maybe about 3-4 months ago, we came across some kids. Actually, Malaika came to me and we were having a conversation about how we're going to develop this community. And she said to me, Mr. Hughes, there are people who, since the COVID has started, have not gone to school, have not had online classes, and have had no form of teaching, tuition, assistance, coaching, nothing. And I said, that is impossible. Yes, it's possible. And at that time, we then decided that Hughes Fuse and Story, that we will assist the community in at least helping the young children so that they have a better chance going forward. And we started a school in the Mildred Mansfield building, started classes in the Mildred Mansfield building, and 3 teachers volunteered and taught 34 students. Let me just share how bad it was. There were students when those classes started that were 8, 9, and 10 that could not write their names, could not spell, could not form letters, and I thought, my God, what is going to happen to this generation? And so we got together with the community, Malika got the school going, and we decided that we were going to get the ground. There's a great ground at the back of Notre Dame Field. We got it cleared. Are we going to make a world-class football or ball field out of it? And when I started that, this gentleman who runs the car wash beside the Notre Dame Field came and he said, Mr. Hughes, I in with you. I've been in this community a long time. I'm glad that we've seen some progress, etc. And he came and his men helped cut that bush. The bush was like 5, 6 feet high, clear out that bush. And now we are almost to the end where we're going to get the ball field together. And he's going to be in charge of the football and the games that come here. And last week, Saturday, when we were facing our tragedy, he came. I was literally trying to put out the fire out to the tower at Fitzgerald House. And by the time I turned around, he was there. He said, Mr. Hughes, don't worry, we got us covered. And he came, got the bucket, got the water going on the eastern side and the northern side, and he was there in this building. Please put your hands together for Nico Fraser. Where's Nico?
Right there.
Come, please. You're busy videotaping.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nico. The next person, part of the bucket brigade, turn up, say anything you need to be done, he will do, which is exactly what he did do. Please put your hands together for Mr. Sheldon Ford.
Thank you, Sheldon.
So this person has always been around in my life, or at least as much as I could remember. And I said, you know, we have a little appreciation ceremony on Saturday. Would you join us? He's saying thank you to the people who have helped save the building. And she looked at me as if I'm mad because she's a family member. So are you going to recognize me? So I'm going to recognize you. Because she came down and I actually was very that the file would be overtaken by an abuse charge because when the ministers came down and they were speaking in front, those of you who saw the video know the line. So we had Anil, Priya, whatever. Bin Laden went out to them and said, the fire hydrant working. Before they could even say anything, Bin Laden says, here, I have the match. And proceeded to get into an argument with them saying, all we're trying to do is save our buildings. And they were completely uninterested, unconcerned. And I wanted to save this person from herself because she believes, she really is a true believer. She believes in the goodness of people and things will get better and better will come. And I always have to say to her, darling, nothing, Guyana. Better didn't come here, it missed, and it might come back, but we might be alive when it comes back. But she has been an absolute tower of strength in my life. Please welcome Catherine Hughes. We have a couple of people who are not here, but I just want to make sure. Stuart is Liz here? Oh, well, so I still will ask him to collect this one for her. You know, every family has a truly special, exceptional person who doesn't necessarily live in the same sphere as you, right? You know, you might be looking at the red table and they may be seeing a blue table. As a matter of fact, they might not be seeing a table at all. They might be seeing something else. And so we have a little family chat, and I sent a message saying, yo, Patrick Street on fire, can you make it? And those of you who know Liz know that she has an absolutely gorgeously beautiful spirit, and it's somewhere else. And I know Liz came down. She was calm, and she went into the metaphysical. Was he talked to the old man them? And I know after the fire went out, and we were not threatened. So Liz is really special, if you know that. Truly special and beautiful human being. She's probably in her way here, but I'm going to ask her brother, my mother's brightest child's shirt, to come and collect on her behalf. Go. Go. And so we will conclude this afternoon. There are a couple of people that haven't gotten here yet. But we will conclude with me offering this certificate to who I call the magician. Truly is a magician. I referred to him before, but it was at his instance that the key for the fire hydrant turned up. It was at his recommendation or his inquiry, I should say, Mr. Hughes, you want me to start it? And I say, yes, boss. As I said all the time, anytime we've had problems. If things disappear unnaturally in the community, we get it back because we are the people of Working Ross. And just for those of you who are not from Working Ross, just to let you know that despite what you may hear about Working Ross, no robberies is supposed to happen between High Street, Mansion Place, and Durban Street. It don't happen. And if it happens, we make sure we apologize to the victims and we make sure that they get whatever they may have lost. That is the true spirit of Working Ross. And a leader in ensuring this is happening is, I call him the magician. Because I know he could get to the top of the Eiffel Tower even if they're preventing you from getting there. So please put your hands together for Ulrich Britton. I'll tell you a long story. The police like Ulrich. Matter of fact, the police are in love with Ulrich.
Thank you.
And every time they express their love for Ulrich, Ulrich has come to me and I said, Ulrich, I love you more than the police. And Ulrich, it's all right. To the extent now that they don't harass Ulrich no more because they said that he got a little bottle in his back pocket and his name Nigel. So Ulrich, thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to say thank you very much to a couple of people who are not here. Mark Benchop facilitated taking this live on Facebook. I want to say thank you, Mark, for making this possible because it is important that we recognize the people that the society sometimes tend to forget. And so it is important that you are recognized. I think you should be recognized every day, but this is our appreciation to you. I want to also thank the people from Village Voice who said that they would cover it, and they are indeed covering it. And from the bottom of the hearts of all of us here, everybody at Hughes, Hughes and Stobie, we are all grateful that we have a place to come back to. I shudder to think, not the financial loss in the building, but the loss in terms of the documentation that is here, the history that is here, the ghosts that are here. We know that they are here, ghosts here. My staff can confirm that. We might have lost all of that. So on behalf of everybody here at HFS, thank you. As a small token of our appreciation, we invite you to have lunch with us. And you know, since we come from the people in the street, we got to buy here. The blow, will blow. Thank you very much, folks. And good afternoon. Thank you, Mark.
Well done, well said.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, the blue got blue.
She put a pot on she hair and gone. Them a the first one out on the dam. Basket on she head, bucket in each hand. Hold up on she frock, I wanna she grandson. To the market, them a go. For the morning, the day is dawning. For cockacrow to give the villagers a warning. Rise and shine, the birds them a sing. All animal take turn as them join in the waking. Cockacrow, dagabag, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Cockacrow, dagabag, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Come and hear this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. All day a back down, me now a come home. Inaga, jackass yard for fetch the load. Cockle shy hand, bag over shoulder, running by his side. A Rexy and Rover, from the farm, them a come. Sun a go down but up the river. Some washing clothes, some folks are bathing at the water. Fisherman, they catch them a bring. From a canoe boat, man, them start offloading. Aymara, Kwakwari, Hail Baka Kuma Kuma, even Lokonani. Aymara, Kwakwari, Hail Baka Kuma Kuma, even Bangameri. Listen to this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. Them children glad when the weekend comes.